God is good, and with each day that passes brings us a day closer to the launch of Outward RPG. We're almost there, guys. At the time of this recording, we only got about 19 days left until the Outward RPG launches. You should be very excited, especially if you like old school RPGs, old school MMOs. I would even go as far as to say, then you're gonna love Outward. We're talking about a very difficult game. We're talking about a game with risk versus reward, with consequences for your actions, and lots of other ridiculously cool things. And that's what I want to make the video about today. I kind of did a brief overview of Outward that I was excited. Today I want to get a little bit more in depth and get you super hyped for this awesome RPG coming out. So first of all, something really cool that when I recorded the Outward video I did before, I didn't realize is the factions. Okay, so I want to talk about that today. So the factions, as far as I can tell, there are 4 of them that you can pick from and choose to support. And of course, when you support one, another one's going to hate you, etc. So it's a really cool system. And here's what we know so far. First up, we have the Blue Chamber Collective. Okay, it's one of the factions in Outward, and it's a group of smaller clans that mostly tries to keep to themselves. So they're the most powerful political association in RI, the world of Outward. And though they're separated into clans, they all value the importance of family. So that is one of the factions. Another one would be the Holy Mission of Elat. The Holy Mission of Elat, as you might have guessed from the name, is a religious group, and they promote the importance of achieving the utmost potential in order to better protect and serve your loved ones. So this is a religious sect that you can choose to support or go against. Another one is the Heroic Kingdom of Levant. So they are a new power that tries to take over the Blue Chamber by promising to liberate the population from the harsh obligations of their current lives by creating a new utopia. So that's very interesting. I can't wait to dive into that. And then you have the Soroborians. So the Soroborians are a very powerful institution. They're the highest authority in academic knowledge through the land. They're also deeply involved in commerce, using information as a key resource in their expansion. So which of the factions will you support? Are you going to go all holy mighty and go with the Holy Mission of Elat? Are you going to pick the Blue Chamber Collective? Or are you going to pick their reverse nemesis, the Heroic Kingdom of Levant? And so on and so forth. So I thought that was really cool, really excited. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but we'll see. I think I'll definitely go with the religious one. That sounds fun. But all right, so let's move on about some other things. What about crafting? How's crafting going to work in this game? So far, at least, we know that there's going to be mining and cooking, and cooking and mining, I think, are going to be very important. There's going to be recipes involved with, well, I guess you could call it recipes with cooking in order to make various food to give you certain boosts, and also just to survive, because you got to eat in this game, right? And then, of course, you have mining, in which, of course, you just go out and mine for iron, which I'm assuming you can use to make weapons. So I'm assuming if you can mine, there has to be a reason for it. So I'm assuming, even though it may not be listed and I haven't seen much about it, I'm assuming you'll be able to craft your own gear as well with the various ores and everything that you get. We do also know that this game has a main storyline and that there will be quests, okay? There'll be quests in the game, but the way it handles them is a little different than you might expect. So each quest has, well, most of the quests, let me put it that way, have multiple outcomes depending on how you personally decide to approach the situation that is being presented to you. So just like how death, or I shouldn't say death, defeat, being beaten in combat has a dynamic way of being handled, and as far as how you come back, it depends on where it happens at and what with and various different things. The quest system is also dynamic. So the example that I found was that if you're in a quest, it might ask you to intervene in a political conflict between an underpaid mercenary camp and a small mining village controlled by one of the leading factions that we just talked about. Now, if you do nothing, by the way, it will play out on its own. Okay, so the story is kind of timed, right? Which is kind of interesting because I was going to go into the game and just take my time and like creep through the game and just, you know, that's apparently not an option. I mean, I guess you could, but the story would move on without you. So if you do nothing, then it will just play out, right? Like there will be an outcome with or without you. So if you ignore it for too long, it could end up that village gets completely burned to the ground by the monsters that the mercenaries were trying to hold off, or someone else might come along and resolve it for you since you weren't there to do it. Because in Outward, they decided to do quests that feel alive and not just a little thing to check off your list that you got done, but actually be a living system and a living, breathing world that the quest is actually happening in. And depending on what happens in your quest, well, that's just building your personal storyline and what happened to you in the game. So it adds a lot of replay, it adds a lot of stories that we can share amongst each other as far as what happened in our game, and it'd be very different than what happened versus a friend or each other's games. So there are, of course, main quests, which is the main storyline quests. There are also many side quests. So I think we'll have plenty to keep us busy out in the world with this type of system, and I think it'll get very interesting sometimes. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about is the various locations, okay, that the game takes place in. So the world is alright. I'm going to show a map here. It looks to be a very large piece of this world we're going to get to explore. So you can kind of look around here and see there's various settlements or cities and things like that with a wild distance between them with plenty to do. I also had heard that in each section of the world that there's I think they said between 3 to 6 dungeons, so plenty of dungeon delving too if that's what you're into like me. But if you look up here in the top left, we have Orochi, and right below that we have, I'm probably pronouncing these and butchering them, but we have Cierzo, we have Berg, Harmaton, Traumaton, Carabaron, and if you see that big crack right there on the right that looks purple, that's called the Scourge. And then we have, whoa, I don't want to say this one on my channel, Habub. We have Habub. And then we have right down below that we have the mountains, which I don't think we'll be able to go there. I think that's like to block you off, but maybe, because if you look over here to Levant, it kind of cuts through the mountains a little bit, so maybe that impasse range will be something explorable too. We'll see. Maybe a big dungeon with, you know, really elaborate right there or something. That would be really cool. And then right there in the middle we have Monsoon, and then right there on the bottom left we have Sirocco with the 3 brothers right there. Okay, so it's going to all be very interesting, and that is what the map looks like, guys. A couple other things real quick that I want to mention about Outward to kind of prepare you for it. The game is releasing on PS4, Xbox One, and PC on the same day, which is March 26th. And, you know, if you're not excited about this game, guys, and you're into Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, for example, guys, you should be hyped because, sure, it's not an MMO. Of course it's not. But it's a single-player game, but you can't play with friends. You can bring a buddy along. You can play couch co-op right there on the same screen, or you can get together online and play together. Another thing I want to mention, because it's releasing on consoles and PC at the same time, PC players, you will have the option to play keyboard and mouse or a controller from launch. And they said any controller, Xbox controller on your PC, whatever, will work. So I thought that was pretty cool too and worth mentioning. And I also want to talk about the system requirements just to make sure that you've got, and it's not very brutal requirements, to be honest. And if you're gonna try to real quick upgrade your rig, I do have a video I posted earlier this week. Please check that out. But I think most of us will be okay. The minimum requirements are, of course, Windows 7, 8, or 10. The processor, an Intel Core i5-750 or equivalent. The memory, 4 gigabytes. The graphics, an NVIDIA GTX 450 or equivalent, and the storage, about 15 gigabytes of space. The recommended requirements, however, are of course Windows 7, 8, 10, processor Intel Core i5-2400 or equivalent, and memory 8 gigabytes of RAM. The graphics, an NVIDIA GTX 960 or equivalent, and the storage, of course, still 15 gigabytes of space. Now, before I go, I do want to mention one last thing which is very important to me, and that would be the equipment. Up here on the screen, I've got kind of a screenshot here of what the equipment screen looks like, and you can see that there's various options there, stuff you'd pretty much expect. And also it looks like what we'll be looking at as far as equipment are things like a decay factor, lightning factor, frost, fire, resistances, physical attack, impact, speed, defense, physical resistance, protection, impact resistance, and that kind of thing. Guys, I'm hoping, see, this is not like a game, I don't think, where we're going to be able to get like super ridiculously overpowered gear. I could be wrong. There could be, but if it's in the game, I just hope that it's rare and it's hard and it's like its own epic quest line or something of that nature. I hope that that's how, or just even just really rare drops with good stats on it would be cool for me, I think. And the only thing I'm really worried about Outward is I had kind of all the way up until recently kind of planned that I was just going to take my time and really just spend a ton of time out in the world and in dungeons. But now that I know that the quest will move with or without me, I don't know, guys. My first playthrough, I want to see the story. I want to get involved in these factions and all that. I definitely don't want to miss out on stuff going on. So my first playthrough, I guess I'm just going to try to focus on getting through the game and seeing some of the story, and then maybe after that I'll start playing it more of just let's get out in the world and screw the story and the quests. Let's just go out here and grind and look for cool gear and dungeon dive and all this kind of thing. So maybe I wouldn't even have to start another playthrough. We'll see when the game comes out. Maybe I can just beat the game, get all the story and everything out of my system much as I want, get an ending, and then continue playing, and from there I can really just start working on my character. That's what I'm hoping for. But guys, I will be making videos about this game. Look forward to it. I hope you do anyway. Thanks for joining me today. If you are new here at the Nathan Napalm channel, please consider subscribing. This is what we do here. We talk about old school MMORPGs, Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, of course, being top of the list, Camelot Unchained, and also RPGs, CRPGs, JRPGs, anything RPG related. Guys, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I want to do a special shout out here to the community members, people who have joined the Nathan Napalm channel. There's a little button down below for join. If you're listening on mobile, you may not see that join button, and you can find that in the description down below. And if you do join, you get special perks, which will be listed there as soon as you click join. It will tell you what you get for it. Thanks for joining me today. Don't forget to subscribe, share this video, like it, all that kind of thing. Thank you guys. Have a great day. God bless and happy gaming. But please just subscribe. I can't even describe being part of my tribe. I'll even offer you a prize. But just please just subscribe and hit the bell notification too.